welcome to the Captain Infinity Show. I'm your host, Captain Infinity, and welcome to Thus Spake Zarathustra. Very easy to pronounce, nothing to trip you up. Unlike the word segue, which some people mispronounce Sieg, or Leicester, which some people mispronounce Leicester, or Worcester, which some people mispronounce Worcester, or Mannering, which some people mispronounce Mainwaring. So, thus spake Zarathustra, very straightforward, unless you're so thick you get tripped up by words with more than one syllable. Is that the problem? Who knows? Bear with me as I get my coffee and then do the thing with the thing. Right, getting the coffee. Down with the plunger. Here we go. Now I'm going to be awake. There you go. Can you hear that? Can you hear the sounds of the coffee going in? I needed that. That's better. So people that remain willfully ignorant of culture, is troglodyte actually the correct word, as Scotty claims? Although being ignorant of culture and a great many things, he's probably using the wrong words to describe himself and Jill. But certainly no fan of Star Trek. If you've not watched all 3 seasons of Star Trek Strange New Worlds, then the word I would use for you is a fucking tourist. Anyway, bear with me as I inform the people that I do like, that do know something about Star Trek. People like Commodore Jim and J Sci-Fi Nation. People that actually watch Star Trek. Hi, and welcome to Saving People from the Gulag. I'm your host, Joe Starlin. You know what I mean? So there we go. Tony, he's not been around for a while, has he? Brian. Okay, I'm always missing someone, aren't I? Scogli. Yatta. There we are. And now let's check the link. The definition of sanity is doing the same thing again and again and expecting a different result. And ironically enough, that goes double for computers. Computers are ostensibly consistent. You go to a computer and do the same thing, you're going to get a different result every time. For example, clicking the link to my own show. So hello and welcome. I had some fantastic live streams yesterday, but I deleted them because why not? It's my prerogative. And I had a fantastic conversation with Grok, who has learnt how many journeys there are in time in Back to the Future. How many instances of time travel are there in total in Back to the Future? Because Grok said 3. That is incorrect. I thought Grok knew better. Hopefully does now. You people out there? Some listeners in already. Not much in the way of conversation in the chat though, is there? Do better. So how many journeys... Oh, they fucked off. Well, there you go. How many journeys in time in Back to the Future? Anyone? 7 in total. Suzanne in the chat yesterday, she understands that. 7 journeys in time. But that's why this Saturday, or for me, this Sunday, depending on where you are. If you're listening on the re-rub, could be next year, couldn't it? But this Saturday, the 22nd of November at approximately 1900 hours, give or take, emphasis on approximately, somewhere around midnight UK time, I will be doing a review, a rewatch in my mind. No visuals, no slideshow, use your imaginations or your memories or watch the movie yourselves. A rewatch of Back to the Future where we go through the 7 on-screen journeys in time. That's right, 7. How many forwards in time? How many backwards in time? Well, you should know by now. In case you don't, you're gonna, aren't you? So there's that. Oh, 12 people in. Brilliant. No good to me unless you're chatting. How many journeys in time in Back to the Future? 7. How many of those are forwards in time? Hello, Leo. How familiar are you with Back to the Future? How interested are you in time travel logic in Back to the Future? Did you know, 10 listeners, so not for those two, there are 7 journeys in time in Back to the Future. Do you know how many of those are forwards in time? And do you know how many of those are backwards in time? Not back, backwards. Anyone? Hello, Josiah. I'm capable of using an apostrophe. There you go. Daniel's Hot Topics. That's how it's done. Well done, Josiah. Josiah, how familiar are you with Back to the Future? How interested are you in the time travel in Back to the Future? And indeed, the self-defeating, self-contrary logic or lack thereof. The rules set up by Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis, then broken by Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis. I'm here to fix those problems and make sure that anyone that gets it wrong is nicked, because I'm the chief of the time travel police. I outrank the Star Trek TVA, the Time Variance Authority, and I'm here to tell you there are 7 journeys in time in Back to the Future and 3 timelines. And anyone out there claiming there's such a thing as one malleable timeline hasn't got a clue or is pretending, Scotty, to be clueless. 3 timelines in Back to the Future. That is self-evident to anyone that's watched the movie properly and is observing the consistent, self-consistent rules of time travel. I want it correct. You lot want it simple, don't you? The number one piece of feedback when I bring up those 2 magic words, time travel. Captain, time travel gives me a headache in fiction. It does. I'm here to pop that headache and soothe your ears and make it nice and easy. And there's no running around. Oh, we've got to get out of here before we change too much. Even the new Star Trek, my beloved Strange New Worlds, Season 2, Episode 7, All the Old Scientists. You got characters, Bomberg, is it? Bilbo, Brad Bomberg running around. I'm in the past. I better not do anything. I better not bump into anything or anyone. I better not say too much, or I might change the present, my past, and affect or prevent my present, the future. Well, you can't, can you? Clobby's Law. You cannot. The time traveller, you the time traveller, cannot prevent your own birth retrospectively. That's why there's no disappearing Marty in Back to the Future. There's no distinction between safe and dangerous time travel, because for a start, that is ignoring impossible time travel, where the time traveller goes backwards in time and prevents their own birth. If they do that, who's doing the time travelling? Nobody. Hence the perfection of Clobby's Law. Airtight and waterproof, Clobby's Law. And then, on 10 minutes, Clobby's Law plus Chaos Theory, means the moment you arrive in the past, you've created a brand new timeline, because indeed any action, even treading on a butterfly, could lead to a chain of events that prevent the birth of the time traveller. Indeed, in Back to the Future, Marty knocks apparently his dad, George McFly, out of a tree, or rather George McFly falls out of a tree into the path of an oncoming vehicle driven by Lorraine's dad, which in timeline A causes George and Lorraine to meet and eventually to have sex, unprotected sex, and then Lorraine gives birth to Marty McFly. Well, in this timeline, timeline B, Marty knocks George McFly out of the way of the oncoming vehicle and gets run over himself, doesn't he? So he meets Lorraine. He doesn't suddenly disappear. Did you notice that? Marty does not disappear. Indeed, when he later meets Doc Brown, Doc says, "Did you do anything? Did you speak to anyone?" "But Doc, I prevented my parents from meeting." "Well, Marty, you're still here. They're clearly not your parents. You're demonstrably in timeline B. Do what you want. It's a brand new timeline. Go hog wild, Marty." "But Doc." And that's why the visual of Marty's hand disappearing later on in the movie, in the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, or indeed Marty's siblings, Dave and Linda, disappearing from the photo, cannot happen. It's like two slot machines going off within a minute of each other. It cannot happen because Clobby's law, the time traveller cannot retrospectively prevent their own birth. Clobby's law is inarguably perfect, and that's why, after 50 years, a 50-year shower thought, a 100-page book, 6 years of peer review on YouTube every day, or it certainly felt like it, and indeed several hours talking to Grok. No such thing as one malleable timeline. And anyone, the two holdouts on YouTube, the professional morons, hello Scotty, claiming to be so thick, so unable to think properly. Anyone claiming, "Hello, Mr. Dog, mate." Oh, I'd love to be mating right now, but instead I'm talking to you. Anyone out there claiming that you can have one malleable timeline, oh, because it's fiction, doesn't have to make sense. No, it does have to make sense because it's fiction. I'll tell you what doesn't have to make sense. Reality. I mean, look at you lot. Look at actual physics. It makes no sense. Quantum mechanics, totally incompatible with relativity theory. Both of them. Because there's two, aren't there? General and special. But that's actual physics. According to physics, actual physics, time travel to the past is impossible. No, it isn't. I'm building a time machine. Shut your mouth, Eugene Bird. No, you're not. Isn't it? So, time travel to the past in fiction must make sense. Clobby's law is perfect. You cannot have a story where the time traveller goes backwards in time and prevents their own birth retrospectively. Because if they prevent their own birth and they were never born, then they can't do any time travel. Well, if they don't do any time travel to the past in fiction, then they didn't prevent their own birth. If they didn't prevent their own birth, they were born and they do exist and they did travel backwards in time. If they did travel backwards in time, then they did prevent their own birth, which means they were never born and they don't exist, which means they couldn't travel backwards in time. You can't travel backwards, not back, backwards in time if you don't exist. And therefore they didn't travel backwards in time, so they didn't prevent their own birth. So didn't prevent their own birth. They were born. So they did exist. So they did travel backwards in time. So they did prevent their own... Clobby's law is perfect. But yet Scotty, in a desperate bid for attention, well done Scotty, you like negative attention, don't you? So I'm saying it right now, every day in fact, that Scotty R37 is either the dumbest motherfucker on YouTube or he's acting that way to be contrary on 15 minutes. Either one is possible. because any theory that suggests you can have one malleable timeline is total bunk and doesn't work. The only way you can have a dumber theory is by combining two dumb theories, as Jens has done, by claiming that Back to the Future is one malleable timeline till Marty knocks over a tree, which is something that doesn't cause a new timeline. Jens seems to think that doing anything apart from time traveling causes a new timeline. Every time Marty McFly burps, farts, or ejaculates, it's a brand new timeline. Really, Jens, but it's malleable at the point of arrival. Could you be any more wrong? And that's why Jens's theory is officially the dumbest theory going. Quite ironic for someone that spends almost as much time as me obsessing about time travel with his imaginary, non-existent 6 billion off-screen timelines. Number 2, the second dumbest theory going, Screen Rant. Screen Rant online magazine article February 2025 with the suggestion that there are multiple timelines in Back to the Future. Well done, you're getting it. But then each of those multiple timelines is then subsequently malleable. Ha! How can you go multiple and malleable? How can you go malleable at all, Scotty? So Screen Rant, Scotty and Jens, the dumbest motherfuckers on YouTube, not getting it. You cannot have one malleable timeline. That is the entire book, Time Travel Police, summed up in 5 words. No to one malleable timeline. Or indeed, if you're J Sci-Fi Nation, you can't change the past. And that's why any story, even my beloved Strange New Worlds, any story where the characters are running around, oh, I better not do anything, I better not say anything, a bunk, nonsense, the characters haven't got a clue. Call yourself Starfleet, you don't understand temporal mechanics. And Scotty complaining, treating temporal mechanics as if they're real. Well, Scotty, did you know Star Trek, like Singing in the Rain, Scotty, Star Trek is not a documentary. It's not even science fiction. It's a wackadoodle space fantasy with absolutely no relationship with actual physics. Star Trek is about as close to actual physics as Scotty is with that chick he went to Australia with. In other words, they're barely talking. They're not talking at all. Which is fine. Star Trek, like Star Wars, is an implausible wackadoodle space fantasy. Nobody cares. Doesn't matter. As long as it's self-consistent, let's relax and enjoy the story. But anyone out there claiming that Star Trek is science fiction hasn't got a clue. With your beaming up and your beaming down and your transmogrifier, your replicator. Oh, I've turned this wee into tea, Earl Grey hot. Yeah, of course you have. And your warp 9 and your other warp 9. Spaceships going faster than light. Light can't go faster than light. And it's not heavy. It's light, isn't it? So absolutely implausible nonsense. But as long as it's self-consistent, I don't mind. Let alone the time travel in Star Trek. Absolutely impossible. Shut it, Eugene. Thank you. Absolutely. And anyone out there, Eugene Bird, that thinks or claims or pretends to think or claim that time travel to the past is possible, well, then you need to buy my book more than anyone else, lest you disappear, Eugene. Because Eugene Bird a year ago promised me a solution to the grandfather paradox. That has not been forthcoming. Eugene, you're lying. Still, you're doing better than Gorilla's Random Thoughts, who doesn't even understand the question, let alone providing an answer. Gorilla, like some people talk about random thoughts, is labouring under the misapprehension that the grandfather paradox is about sex with your teenage grandmother. It is not. That's why I've renamed it the Teenage Grandfather Erasure Paradox, because it's about murder. Because if you erase one or all 4 of your grandparents before they have the opportunity to meet each other and become, on 20 minutes, become parents to your parents, who then become your parents and then give birth to you, Martin McFly. If you erase, assassinate, destroy your grandparents before they become parents to your parents, then you can't be born. Well, if you weren't born, you can't do any time traveling. Pretty straightforward once you get it, isn't it? Isn't it, Scotty? Pretty easy. Even numbskulls, troglodytes, even a homunculus like you, Scotty, should be able to get it. And I don't believe that Scotty is that stupid. I think he's pretending for attention, which he's now got. Well done, Scotty, because you are the primo example of online stupidity, imagined if not real, for claiming that you can have one malleable timeline. You chuckle monkey. Impossible. It can't be done. Cannot happen. And that's why we're going through Back to the Future live on air for one last time on Saturday, the 22nd of November, first on my channel, and then a live rewatch of Back to the Future on the J Sci-Fi Nation channel. So we can finally put the topic to bed. Any further questions? Buy my book, Time Travel Police. Now that I've established that Grok, like a replicant, is smarter than you, Grok is smarter than the humans, also a lot more charming and polite, actually. So Grok gets it, once I've explained it patiently. 7 instances of time travel in total in Back to the Future. Grok gets it, why can't you? On 22 minutes. Well, so far the chat is drier than your girlfriend. So I've said my piece, done my bit. I've submitted my portion. Over to you, audience. Excuse me while I sip this delicious coffee, and you can suffer in uncomfortable silence. Thus spake Richard Zarathustra. Really only one way of pronouncing it, unlike Segway. Pretty straightforward. Not a lot of grey area. Fairly cut and dry. Well, if there's no questions from the audience, so I assume you all get it. Can anyone tell me how many, the 2 lurkers out there, how many timelines in Back to the Future and why? Given that there are 7 journeys in total in time, 7 instances of time travel in Back to the Future, how many forwards to the future, how many backwards, not back, to the past? I'll wait. Bam, 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 bam. Going backwards in time. Do. Once Back to the Future is done and dusted, given that it is a shining example of simplicity in the realm of time travel stories, with only 7 journeys in time, only 3 timelines, nice and straightforward. If you don't get the time travel in Back to the Future, then I really can't help you after Saturday. Saturday's your last chance to get it, because then we're moving to the complicated stuff, Jens. So, Jens, Scotty, that idiot from Screen Rant, oh, you might as well go home now. You're not going to get it, are you? A 5-year mission, live on air, where I, with my lovely assistant, J Sci-Fi Nation, I'm bringing the time travel. He's bringing the Star Trek knowledge. I mean, he gets time travel to an extent. I know Star Trek to an extent. Not as much as Jay, but more than Scotty, because I've actually watched Strange New Worlds. We're going to go on a 5-year mission to boldly go where no cunt has gone before, to finally understand, unlike the scriptwriters of Star Trek, or indeed the fictional members of Starfleet, ostensibly the best of the best. They don't get it, do they? Time travel to the past in fiction. You cannot change the laws of physics, Captain. Now, I think you'll find to write, enjoy, or watch an episode of Star Trek, any episode of Star Trek, let alone the cartoons or the movies, you have to break the laws of physics. That goes doubly for a time travel episode. But once you've made up your own imaginary, made up, wackadoodle, non-existent laws of physics, don't break them again, Scotty, because then you've got self-inconsistency. I want it correct. You lot want it simple. Scoglie and Mr. Grant Gregory, they want it self-consistent. Self-consistency is not even a time travel issue. It's a writing issue. It has to make sense because it's fiction. I fucking told you. It's one of them, isn't it? Self-consistency to give us the all-important verisimilitude, to allow us to have full immersion, to allow us to enjoy suspension of disbelief, where we pretend we believe in time travel to the past in fiction, treating it as if it were actual mechanics. It's too much for Scotty. It's not enough for Scoglie. Scotty says there are no rules in time travel to the past in fiction. Scoglie suggests there are 11 rules. I'm saying there's one, so here I am. Scotty's to the left of me, Scoglie's to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. I mean, they're both right in a way, except Scotty, who's wrong with his claim that there are no rules, with his stubborn, nonsensical, homunculus-like insistence that you can have one malleable timeline. No, you can't. Fucking told you. It's one of them, isn't it? Even Jens gets it. You cannot prevent the birth, retrospectively, of the time traveller. Otherwise, who is doing the time travelling? Pretty straightforward, isn't it? Oh, you don't get it, do you? That's why I'm here to simplify it. No running around, even Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Oh, Dr. Jones, we must leave Syracuse before you bump into someone, before you tread on a butterfly, before you change history. You dumb bint. We arrived in a fiery aeroplane crash. We've already changed history more than your stupid, pitiful, almost non-existent pea of a brain can comprehend. Therefore, like in Back to the Future, like in Star Trek City on the Edge of Forever, this is clearly a brand new timeline. We might as well relax. I may as well work on my suntan and chill out with Socrates. It's Archimedes, actually. Fuck off, Beardo. Get me a souvlaki. Isn't it? And some feta cheese. Oh, Dr. Jones. Marty, did you do anything? Did you bump into anyone? Duck! I prevented my parents from meeting. Oh, might as well relax then. Doc Brown hasn't got a clue. Doc Brown invented the time machine, hasn't got a clue about causality. That's why he ripped up the note he got from Martier and then taped it together later. Fickle as fudge, clueless, absolutely clueless about the mechanics of time travel. But he soon learned, didn't he? He taped that letter together, wore a bulletproof vest, so when those Scandinavian terrorists showed up, he didn't pop his clogs. Unlike Doc Brown A, who's pining for the fjords, and that's why Back to the Future has got a tragic ending. Doc Brown A is brown bread, having been shot to death by Scandinavian terrorists. Marty McFly, Marty A, has disappeared from Timeline A, never to return, lacking both the method, the opportunity, and the willingness, the motivation to go back to the awful Timeline A. His poor mother, Lorraine A, already an alcoholic, Scotty, at the start of the movie, is now in bits because of her son being missing. Isn't it? Her husband, George, still a loser. Oh, what a nightmare. Doc Brown carts it, pining for the fjords on half an hour. a bunch of missing plutonium, Scandinavian terrorists running around. Oh, what a mess. The FBI, no doubt, sniffing around. Maybe the CIA also. Maybe the NSA. Not to mention the local cops. What a nightmare. She's never going to see her firstborn son ever again. Why? Because Marty A is quite happy chilling in Timeline B with the parents of Marty B. Marty A used to get around Hill Valley on a skateboard. Marty B, he's got a big black 4x4, now owned by Marty A. Marty A is busy having sex, eventually, with Jen B. In for unprotected sex, he gets her pregnant. It's your kids, Marty. Obviously, that's biology, isn't it? They have sex, unprotected sex, and then Jen B gets pregnant and has offspring with Marty A, but not her boyfriend, her actual boyfriend, Marty B, who disappears right on screen, doesn't he? When Marty A gets to 1985, he never gets back to his future. The movie should be called To the Wrong Future. Marty A, who comes from 1985 of Timeline A, Twin Pines Mall, ends up in 1985 of Timeline B, Lone Pine Mall, demonstrably a different shopping mall. Eventually, as Not Brian points out, in honour of George McFly, the science fiction author, who gave us the character Darth Vader, the name given to him by Marty A, back in 1955 of Timeline B. George McFly, B, in Timeline B, a famous science fiction author, in his honour, they're going to rename it from Twin Pines Mall to Lone Pine Mall to Darth Mall. Thank you, Not Brian. So yeah, Marty B conveniently disappears, something acknowledged by Screen Rant, but the fan theory in Screen Rant, presented by that stupid article, February 2025, is that Doc Brown B deliberately murdered Marty McFly B and sent him backwards in time to the Jurassic era. What a bunch of nonsense. So therefore, my suggestion that Marty B goes to the year 2525 now looks increasingly, by comparison, logical, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Either way, Marty B is never thought about, spoken of, or mentioned ever again. He never comes back, never appears, does he? No. How convenient for Marty A, who basically slips in and takes over his life. Takes over his bedroom, lives under the roof of his parents, takes his girlfriend, his big black 4x4. Marty A living his life out in Timeline B. And eventually he has kids. It's your kids, Marty. And then Doc Brown goes backwards in time from 2015 to 1985, creating Timeline C. It's your kids, Marty. Doc, it's not my kids. We haven't had kids. We are kids. That's Marty C and Gen C in Timeline C. They never have kids in Timeline C, because at the end of the movie, for the seventh and final example of time travel in Back to the Future, the first movie, Doc, Marty and Jen go from 1985 to 2015 of Timeline C. It's your rules, Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis, isn't it? Einstein the dog, woof, goes forward in time 1 minute. In the first example of time travel, the first instance of time travel in Back to the Future, all the way back in Act 1, isn't it? At the aforementioned Twin Pines Mall. Einstein the dog goes forward in time 1 minute, doesn't he? Euler Greg does not create a brand new timeline, Euler Greg. Why would he? Why would you think, Euler Greg, that going forwards in time creates a new timeline? What a ridiculous notion. I mean, it's fiction. You can do what you want as long as you don't break the one rule, Clobby's law. But there's nothing to suggest, Euler Greg, that going forwards in time creates a new timeline. As far as I'm aware, the amount of stories ever written, out of all the stories ever written, out of all the movies ever made about time travel, the amount of stories where going forwards in time creates a new timeline is 0, Euler Greg. So indeed, Einstein the dog goes forward in time 1 minute, disappears for a minute. Well, of course he disappears. He's time travelling. Otherwise, it's not time travel, is it? It's leaving a dog in the car, which you should never do, even at night. So he reappears 1 minute later in the same timeline, timeline A, having disappeared for a minute. Therefore, according to those rules of time travel to the future, made up by Bob Gale and Robert Zemeckis right at the end of the movie, for the seventh load of time travel, the seventh instance of time travel in Back to the Future, Doc, Jen and Marty go forwards in time 30 years, and just like Einstein the dog, they disappear for the duration of the time travel. Therefore, they disappear for 30 years, and therefore, when they get to 2015, they're not going to be there, are they? And therefore, there's no Back to the Future 2, not without timeline shunting. Any questions? No? Good. And that's why this Saturday, the 22nd, Sunday for me, because I'm living in the future, we are going to be rewatching the entirety of Back to the Future so everyone gets it. The 7 instances of time travel in Back to the Future, the total of 3 timelines, including the default timeline that every movie gets. Raiders of the Lost Ark, you get a timeline. Blade Runner, you get a timeline. Dune, you get a timeline. Hateful Eight, you get a timeline. Everyone gets a timeline. But there's no time traveling Raiders of the Lost Ark. Imagine that. An Indiana Jones movie with time travel. Wow. Talk about scraping the bottom of the barrel. Hey, Scotty. It's bad enough that Temple of Doom retcons Raiders and isn't canon. Oh, it's a prequel. Yeah, I know, Jill. It's a prequel. Being a prequel doesn't magically prevent a movie from being a retcon. Yes, Temple of Doom is a prequel, Jill. Well done. Good observation. 1935, Shanghai. Unlike Raiders, Peru, 1936. Yes, Temple of Doom is a prequel. It still retcons Raiders. But at least it doesn't have any time travel. So, Temple of Doom, 1 timeline. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, 2 timelines. Thank you and good night. So, I hope you're all looking forward to Saturday. I hope you're all going to be there, enjoying the time travel. Good. 7 instances of time travel in Back to the Future. And we're not talking about the sequels neither. Well, if there's no questions. Bow. So looking forward to moving on up to analysing all the time travel in Star Trek. Finally, we can put Back to the Future to bed like Marty A did with Gen B. Which is nice. No questions then? Everyone quiet. Maybe I should be asking you questions. Hello? How many instances of time travel in Back to the Future? Anyone? How many timelines in Back to the Future? Anyone? Anyone? Bow. Wonder if Sci-Fi is going to be on later. Still, I'll get my StreamYards back in a couple of days. I'll be able to have guests. Do I want guests, though? That is the question. Broadcasting, going live streaming on YouTube. Very much like having sex with a beautiful lady, don't you think? Basically, I like a 3. If there's just 2 of us, it's barely worth doing it. I might as well be on my own. I forgot one guest. Then I've got to talk to them, haven't I? No one wants that. So maybe I'll get 2 guests. We'll see. So quite an exciting weekend with the rewatch of Back to the Future. Should be amazeballs. I can see the suspense is killing you already, isn't it, folks? Well, if there's no further questions, you may go. Time travel to the past in fiction, or if you're Eugene Bird, in reality, apparently. No to one malleable timeline. Nice and easy. Once we've explained it to you. DVB gets it. Dalek 451 gets it. J Sci-Fi Nation gets it. Mikey Sue's 5 apparently gets it. Mikey Assumption. Commodore Jim, he gets it. Gorilla's Random Thoughts, does he get it? Now that he knows that the grandfather paradox is the teenage grandfather erasure paradox, also known as the past prevention paradox. Tony Stark of Iron, he gets it, I think. Or he says he gets it, so we'll go with that. I mean, Scotty says that Tony Stark of Iron is incapable of thinking. And according to Scotty R37, the fact that Tony Stark of Iron agrees with me speaks against him. And he's simply copying my work and repeating my words parrot fashion without any actual internal cognition or thinking. That's nice, Scotty, isn't it? At least Tony Stark of Iron understands that there's no such thing as one malleable timeline, because you can't change the past. Maybe Tony Stark of Iron and Scotty R37, maybe they should have an online discussion on the live stream about time travel. Because it's Scotty that claims to be a fan of Star Trek. Really, Scotty? You don't get time travel, so you're not fit to talk about Star Trek, are you? How many instances of time travel, how many episodes of the original TOS, the original Star Trek, how many episodes feature time travel? That's right, 5. How many of those 5 episodes does Scotty R37 comprehend? Answer 0. None. Fuck all. Doesn't get it, does he? Claims to be a Star Trek fan. Is clearly lying. Doesn't get Star Trek, doesn't get time travel. Hasn't watched Strange New Worlds. Maybe the first season, probably not even that. I watched the first season of Strange New Worlds. Yeah, get out of here, you fucking tourist. If you haven't seen all 3 seasons, you're nothing to me. If you don't watch Star Trek, then you're not really a Trekker, are you? Or a Trekkie, or a Trekkazoid, or a YouTuber for that matter. Isn't it? If you're going to save Star Trek, you first have to watch Star Trek. If you're going to boast about your ignorance of time travel to the past in fiction, then you've got no business going on YouTube using your given surname to bang on about Star Trek and pretend to save it. No, I think we need to save Star Trek from you. If you're too ignorant to understand time travel to the past in fiction, if you don't understand the one rule. Skogley's got 11 rules. He's going to talk about other things. Where's your flux capacitor, Captain? What about your tachyon converter? What about space travel within the time travel? Once the Earth has moved, if you go backwards in time 20 minutes, you're going to splat into the moon on 45 minutes. What about the mass energy totality? You put Marty McFly into 1955, you've removed mass energy from timeline A and added mass energy to timeline B. Physics won't allow that. Hey, Captain, the time machine in your story, Scott to the Fuhrer, what's powering the time machine? How does it work? It's a unicorn, Scogli. See what I'm talking about? Scotty's to the left of me, Scogly's to the right. I think Scogli is well within his rights to have 11 rules of time travel. The more realistic you make it, the more laws of physics you think about, then I guess the more plausible your story is. But certainly, let's get a sense of perspective. You absolutely need to be thinking about causality. The grandfather paradox, aka the teenage grandfather erasure paradox, also known as the past prevention paradox.